When you talk of the kingdom financiers, they must be people that are sold out to the kingdom agenda, which is a divine takeover program in the world. Are you following what I'm saying? You know, there are some missionaries that we support. And sometimes when we have programs, we sponsor them to come for programs. But there's always somebody that we are sponsoring through. And sometimes they bring some of their people. And after the meeting, that person waits. Say, I want to see you, sir. And say, can you support us? Okay. I said, no, it's not frivolous support. It is focused support. Is that okay? When we wanted to start paying salaries of missionaries, it was from God, because kingdom financiers are operating from God's viewpoint. So it's not just that you have an agenda. The question is, what is God's agenda? That's the kingdom agenda. What is God's agenda? Why does God do what he's doing? And then is God's agenda your own? Are you following what I'm saying? In fact, one of the missionaries that we support, they have a missionary organization and all that. And it's also a son to me ministry. I've been in that relationship for many years. And he comes to convention as an obligation. I say it's not so. The giving you a support is not so that you can attend our convention or my meetings. Attending my meeting is dependent on if you want to receive the wisdom that God is sharing there. All right? Attend or not attend, it won't stop the support. If the support is for you to come, then it is carnal financier. Then you are manipulating that person. The people that give in church to get a position. The people that give to be noticed. That is not kingdom financier. It has to be God's agenda. Is that okay? And every financier in the world has a sense of a call to that thing, whether it's the devil that called them or God. But there's a sense of a call. Nobody is forcing them to do what they are doing. It's not as if they put a gun to your head and force you to do what you're doing. For example, when we set up a scholarship fund, I've always believed in education because people help me to go to school. Are you following what I'm saying? I will not give free food. I don't believe in the philosophy of free feeding. Okay? I don't. I believe that anybody that is feeding an adult is making a slave out of the person. So I don't believe in that. Right from when we started ministry, I have ministry friends. Some of my friends have come to preach for us. During their convention, there are people that come there. There's free food. And I've worked in 41 years of obeying God's call. I have not seen a convention that people that are fed with free food become champion Christians. It's always free-frap kind of people. That is not using that word derogatorily. All right? I want to produce quality people that can change the world for Jesus. If all of you are here and you don't have the means to feed, and we are feeding you this year, next year, for the past 5 years, you are not going anywhere as far as God is concerned. And I saw it's a damage to the program of God. But I believe in educating people to stand on their 2 feet. So we set up a scholarship foundation. That's my philosophy. Are you following me? The other day, I told you I saw a boy that was in the gutter under the bridge cleaning. He's in year 3. The mother is a member of the church. The father is not, he's a member of the church, but he has strange ideas that is affecting the family. Church is full of different kinds of people. Mother is struggling. And Lord said, give him scholarship to finish the rest of the school. Are you following what I'm saying? And when we first started the scholarship foundation, we had a young man, he's a journalist in River State now, and was in church here, he was doing his youth service. And what he did was, the committee that was in charge of the scholarship foundation, he went to befriend all of them because he wants a scholarship for masters. But before they sponsor or when I will go through it. So I said he's not qualified. But because they had got into their emotions, they came to meet me. And I said there are many people that have not got a first degree. Second degree is not life and death. All right? Everybody that's gotten a first degree, go and work and sponsor yourself. Let us sponsor the others that don't have first degree. Are you following what I'm saying? I've never been under the pressure of human opinion. Once I have a cause that is sound, that God can defend, it matters not what you say or what anybody doesn't say. I hope you follow what I'm saying. Okay? So he did everything, tried and done. And I saw those who are getting emotional. So I disbanded the committee. All right? And raised another committee and told them, interview everybody. Okay? When my mother died and the family gathered together, I said, we are going to spend a lot of money to bury. And after the burial, everybody goes. I have a passion. Let us establish a scholarship in her memory. Okay? And myself, my younger brother decided we are going to fund it. We already have one going on in the church. So we included my father's name on it. Okay? And that the church that my mother was going would benefit from it, indigent students, and then our own church. And after some time, we decided to expand it to different people, and they do different programs and all that and things like that. But there must be a reason behind it. Is that okay? So you are never going to come to Dream Center. Of course, there are people that can't pay for their accommodation that their church members will sponsor. There are people that if you can't eat, can't pay for your food, somebody will pay for you. Is that okay? But I'm not going to take an allocation from church to be feeding people free. Is that okay? If you can't eat, then it's time for you to discipline yourself. I hope you understand that. So that's my philosophy. And it governs everything that we do in ministry. So a kingdom financier is a person that has found God's philosophy. When he fed 5,000 in the book of John, chapter 5, did you notice that at the end of the miracle, he said something to them, gather all the fragments, that nothing be wasted. So in that statement, you see the philosophy of God doesn't believe in wastage. He believes in accountability. Are you following what I'm saying? When we give people scholarship in the church, I tell them that the scholarship is to free you from the worry of looking for school fees so you can read very well. And this is the minimum grade you can have to sustain the scholarship. We will not give scholarship to a boy that is not serious in class, but money is coming for him. I have told them to suspend scholarship until a candidate is serious enough to qualify again. Are you following what I'm saying? Praise God. If you're a widow, we have a women empowerment fund. I give them 30,000. There are people that receive that. Mommy sponsors that. And they have set up on their own and they are doing well. And there are some widows that what they want to do around is to get into prostitution. They don't want to work, but they want money. And 30,000 is given them. He spend the money. Given the person second time, spend the money. And then people are emotional and say she's a widow. I say she's a devil in human flesh. That's not a widow. That is just a problem on two legs. Is that okay? So what are we going to do? Go and call the family of the husband and her family. Let them decide on what to do. You can't take the money that people are working hard to give and sponsor misbehavior. That's not how God runs his kingdom. I hope you follow what I'm saying. Praise God. So I don't expect a kingdom financier to take God's money and use it anyhow. Is that okay? And that's why I started with Luke chapter 8, that these women are beneficiaries of the kingdom. Meaning that the source of their means is the God that they are sponsoring his agenda. So before you can be a kingdom financier, the question of who owns what you own must be settled. Kingdom financiers are not owners, they are stewards. So the decision on what to do is made by the owner, not by the steward. Are you following me? Some of you have heard me talk about Reverend Duane Marshall. He's a missionary. I think last year we did his 85th birthday. I went to preach for him. The first time that I knew him, I'd known he was a musician years ago. And I'd heard of him from Dr. Bande, but I didn't have any relationship with him. And I had a vision. And in that vision, I saw him. And he came and said, "Can you give us 100,000?" I said, "We don't have it, but I will see what I can do." And when I came out of that vision, I said, "Lord, what are we going to do? We don't have the money." And at that time, God had told us to go to Eco FM. And Eco FM is charging us 1,040,000 for a quarter. Is it 2 quarters? 1,040,000 for 2 quarters. And so I said, "What are you going to do?" He said, "You start giving it piecemeal." It was not an advice, it was a command. But he had given us an assignment, and we didn't have money for the radio program. But he said we should do that. And you were the one that took the first, it was 5,000 that we sent first time out of 100,000. We had not met physically. And so we sent it. And after we sent that 5,000 to him, a woman in Lagos, who is not a member of our ministry, but knows my ministry, had been praying for her housing allowance and whatever they order in her company, oil industry. And she made a vow to God that if they pay it, I will pay the tithe to Reverend Areogun's ministry. And after we sent the 5,000, God miraculously moved and they paid it. Backlog. And the tithe was 1,040,000. She sent a draft. And he was the one that took it. So I told him, I said, "Now see what God is doing." God doesn't give handouts, he gives assignments. So before you can be a kingdom financier, you must have received an assignment from God that he wants to fund through you. You know, when I see people that see giving as gimmick or as a burden, because they don't understand how the kingdom functions. So notice we gave 5,000 out of 100,000. And God sent a draft of 1,040,000. That woman's hanging bill was cleared and our own instruction was obeyed. But we still had 95,000 to clear out of the instruction. And in that ministry, they do their convention in February. And this was the previous year. So he invited me to come and preach for them at their convention. We had not met. And I told him, I said, sir, when God showed me that vision, he didn't tell me to preach for you. So I won't come. So that invitation, go and lower their microphone. Now listen to what I'm saying, very important. Is that okay? Very, very important. Nothing in the kingdom must be done out of the philosophy of manipulation. Because that invitation was coming out of a sense of obligation to invite me. And I said no. I hope you follow what I'm saying. Let me share another testimony with you. I'll come back to conclude that. The first time that I met Dr. Badende many years ago, I was invited by a friend to preach in his convention. And they had invited Dr. Badende the year before. But they canceled the invitation. And the letter didn't get to him. So the day that he invited me was the day he had given it. And I was already on the high table. We were sitting there when they brought information to my friend that this man of God is around. He didn't get the letter. So my friend turned to me and said, this is the station on ground. This is the first time he's going to preach for them and all that. I said, it's okay. I know him. He's a fantastic man of God. He's a prophet of God and all that. I don't have to preach for you. I've been preaching in your church a long time. And there's no problem. He said, no, you still have not. I said, no. But he still insisted I preach. So I got up there and I said, I'm going to do the work of a John the Baptist today. And I prepared the ground for him, introduced his ministry and everything. He turned to mommy and said, I'm in love with your husband. And after that meeting, any meeting I invite him for, you come and all that. And after that, he sent me an invitation. And when mommy got that invitation, mommy said, my husband won't come. Because there's a phrase in that invitation, one good turn deserves another. I said, no, I won't do that. So we didn't come. Are you following what I'm saying? But since that time, we understand, because you don't understand a man until you understand his philosophy. And you don't understand God until you understand God's philosophy. So let me come back to the issue of the support for Reverend Marshall. So, and we kept giving 5,000, 5,000, 5,000. When the money remained 25,000, I asked him, I didn't know how much it meant. I said, how much do we have to give? Because it's 100,000 that God said we should give. And understand this. Kingdom Financier is not an emotional position. Okay? So I said, I don't want it to cross over that year. It was towards the end of the year. I want to give the rest. He told me it was 25,000 remaining. We have done 75. And I said, okay, would is anybody coming to Elisha? I said, he's passing through Elisha to go somewhere. So he would check on us. I was at home and I sent the money to him in the office that he will get in the office. And I told the person that when he comes, give him the envelope. Number one, don't bring him to my house. And if he tells you want to meet me and you bring him, you lose your job. All right. Now, because you've got to be careful when you are handling kingdom resources. The truth of the matter is that the world's philosophy is whosoever pays the piper takes the tune. When you try that in the kingdom, God will remove the money from you and remove the brain that you want to use to dictate the tune. And I don't want any of that to happen. So if you think you're a kingdom financier, you have to check yourself again. So I said, no, don't come. So the following year, he now said, will I come for their convention? And God said, I should go. We have fulfilled our obligation. And that was the first time he's going to see me. He's only been talking to mommy. In fact, till date, I don't talk to him one-on-one. And he has come to accept that. Himself and mommy, they are very friendly. Me, I'm just business-like, my assignment and my instruction. So they talk, they greet and all that. And so I went into the convention. He was on the pulpit and he saw the way they were bringing me forward. So I saw the surprise on his face because he was expecting somebody different than me. And so anyway, I sat down and I preached. And then they were raising an offering. And I raised up my hand for 20,000 to support missionaries. And after I finished, the Holy Spirit said, I didn't tell you to do that. But I've committed myself. I said, so what's going to happen? He said, you are going to take care of that yourself. I won't support you. And it was difficult for me to get the 20,000. But I made a commitment, so I had to do it. And I understand that you don't handle God's funds as if it's your own. So if you're a kingdom financier, it can be. I don't know if this person I want to share the testimony, this one is here now, is in the service, is in the convention. But I can't see his face now. But the first time he came to church, he just sat there. I didn't know who he was. But he saw me after and told me this is who he was. And I said, okay, no problem. And I was teaching on handling God's resources with responsibility and seriousness. And after service, it was a convention. And he said to me, sir, I want to see you. I said, what's it about? He said, from the teaching that you gave now, I felt that I had given in one of the offerings emotionally. And what can I do? I said, well, no problem. I sent for them to go and bring the envelope if they have not opened it. And they had not. All right. And then they brought the envelope to me. And I looked at it, was 2 million that was there. So I gave it back to him. And I established that position of integrity. That it has nothing to do with money. If you are not supposed to do it, then you must always obey God. Because if God can't trust you, he can't use you in this role. There's so much tendency when it comes to finances for you to assume that you are the one that is in charge. I hope you understand what I'm saying. And that is why in the ministry here, for example, one of our philosophies is this. We have all kinds of people in the church. There was a time that the chairman of the housing corporation in the state was a member of the church. He's gone to have a ministry now. And we were looking for land. And people told me and said, that man is the chairman of the housing corporation, can help us. I said, you know my philosophy, we never will receive anything from somebody that does not receive ministry from us. We'll never do that. So let him receive enough ministry to see it as an obligation for the kingdom, because wealthy people understand the power of obligation and the power of exchange. They don't do anything for nothing's sake. And that is not the principle of kingdom financing. Kingdom financing is as serious as a calling to ministry. I hope you follow what I'm saying. You can't be doing giving and call it kingdom financing. No. It is a deliberate role that God created for people. And that's why I started by talking to you about myself. Because when people come up, they assume that, oh, they are helping. You must not come to God with that mindset of we are helping God out. Who are you to help God? Are you following what I'm saying? Now, your emotions can guide you, but kingdom financing is an assignment. It's not an emotional issue. When you feel like you do it, when you don't feel like you don't do it. Are you following what I'm saying? No. It's not to get somebody into a place of control. In fact, one of the elderly men is going to be 90 soon. And I've known him since when I was a young pastor. And then God said, you give him a certain amount of money every month. And when he receives it, he will call me. He said, Mutuntiri alati yanu mi yo. Intention for me, uma yamilenu. I said, Adupelo Olonsa. Adupelo Olonsa. The message that God gave me is not a popular message to preach. It's a message of the second coming. And say, righteous doesn't have any whatever. When his wife passed on, he told the people that he wants me to come and preach. I said, I won't be able to come, but I'll send pastors to be there and everything. Because I've seen people that are carrying the gospel, and the people that God wanted to support them, they are controlling them. They come under a pressure of trying to please them. And that's the first thing that God dealt with myself and mommy. Don't let that happen. In fact, one time that God told me to give a car to one of my friends, I called him. I said, this is what the Lord said, but on one condition, it must not come between the two of us. It must not affect our relationship. It must not affect the way you interact with me and everything. If that is agreed, then we'll go ahead. If not, then forget about it. And you feel what I'm saying? And you had one of my friends here in one of the convention. I said, God told me to give him a car. And he said he has a car. I said, it's all right. And then his car broke down. And he said, I remember my friend said God told him to give the car. I said, in the kingdom, if God says you should receive, pride doesn't stop him to receive or whatever. If God says give, no problem. But we must understand the ruling philosophy of the kingdom. Is that okay? It's not philanthropy. Philanthropy is when you are going to do something in the public. This is an assignment. That the kingdom financier, in fact, that word financier, I checked the dictionary. I'll give you the kingdom pictures of a financier very shortly. Is present but not visible. Can you be present without being visible in that person's ministry or life? I feel I'm saying there are about 3 ministries now that we are sponsoring their teaching and preaching ministry on radio. We're on radio too. There's no competition in it. I feel I'm saying there's a ministry in the north. When the convention started, the pastor told me that, I won't be able to come, but our ministry is gathering daily to pray for your ministry and all that. Their church got born in the north, northeast, by these Boko Haram people. I didn't know him. One of my friends knew him and sent the picture of the church to me and all that. And when I saw it, Lord said, yourself and your wife, see that church is built. And it took us about 2 years to do it. And now the church is built. And he will send me, I say, everybody who say, God is great and God can do this and things that I say, yes, that's God is faithful and all that. That's Kingdom Financier. He wants me to come and preach. No, I don't have to come and preach for you because I did that. Do you understand that? It's not an exchange program. It's an obedience program. So what he gives you, you're a steward of it. Amen. Praise God. Kingdom financiers are intentional. They are warriors with a mission and a cause. They have a cause. The cause of the gospel. To take the gospel all over the world. In every form. Are you following what I'm saying? When God said we should do scholarship foundation and scholarship program, we have about 3 now. And I said, my vision is that we will be able to set a ripple effect of scholarship going on. That if you can sponsor 1,000 and each person sponsor 1 or 2, and then another person sponsor, then a ripple effect can start going on like that. And start going on like that. And start going on like that. When we started DIC, we had a program, Give Life to a Destiny. We talked to some members of the church. Can you sponsor the school fees of some children that they can't go through school themselves? Are you following what I'm saying? It's always with a philosophy and a vision behind it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Praise God. And when we started the IC, people said, oh, you will have a lot of students if you do this student and things. I said, this student doesn't give you the kind of atmosphere to raise quality graduates. All right. It's not a money making venture. Okay. And so they said, well, what are we going to do? They want to do interview for the school. I said, well, it's not the student passing the exam, it's the parents' interview that's my own. So I want, if the parent don't pass the interview, the child doesn't come. I hope you understand that. God has his own kingdom agenda, and you must understand that.